This is Paul, 102 Digital Friday. Hard Talk starts now. We have Rondell Fields as the host for the Single Fathers slash Fathers Association. Hard Talk starts now with our topic today, paternity fraud, with special guest, Mr. Clint. Let me see if I get his name right.
Smith.
Smith. That's right, Mr. Clint Smith. Good afternoon, Rondell. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine, Mark. Thanks for having me again. You guys hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Nice, man. And I don't know if we got Mr. Smith on as yet. But we'll
Yes,
greet him as soon as he gets in.
he's on.
Yeah, Mr. Smith is here. Good to
Yeah.
have you today with us, Mr. Smith. And first of all, before the show starts, I know we are on the eve of Mother's Day. So before we even begin the show, we must wish the mothers out there in Trinidad and Tobago a happy Mother's Day to come. We will always say and continue to stress on the point that we understand the value of mothers, though we fathers, because we were sons, and we are sons. We are sons. So we understand the value of mothers and their input. And similarly, we are grateful for those mothers who understand the value of fathers and their input. Particularly, today, we've decided to touch on a very, very ticklish topic, a topic that we've been discussing at the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago for quite a long time, dealing with a lot of issues pertaining to it in a long time. You would have heard Mark mention the topic today is paternity fraud. So, before even introducing our guest, Mr. Smith, who is going to play a very important role in our discussion here today, and let us know what he is all about. I want to talk about what paternity fraud is. For those who may not know or may not be aware of it, paternity fraud is the act that is committed when one party, most times knowingly, is aware that they have been intimate with another party, and whether they have or the belief of one being the paternal parent of their child, they decide to attribute, I'm going to call it blame, so to speak, just for lack of a better description for now, or attribute, let's say, fatherhood or paternity to one parent without being certain that that person is actually the paternal parent of the child. And at most times when this happens, sometimes it occurs in a number of ways. It occurs in happy families right now, where people may be unaware of the paternal status of their children, and everybody is happy, everybody is married, and there's no issue. It happens in situations which most times it often comes to light when there's separation in the family. And when there's separation between mother and father, whether they were married, whether they were common law, or whether they were just in a relationship, and it gets to a position sometimes when you get to court, and sometimes someone challenges or someone has a belief, the father most times decides that, hey, let me test paternity, and it is proven that the child, or the father rather, is not the paternal parent or the biological parent of the child. In some states and in some nations, this is something that is illegal. In our country, however, it isn't illegal, and we want to talk about today paternity fraud and some of its implications and impact that it has on a number of things. Firstly, the emotional impact it has on the alleged father and the supposed to be biological child. We want to speak also about the impact it has on the genealogical aspects. We also want to talk about the fact when it deals with the impact it has on inheritance and passage of inheritance that's supposed to be passed from father to children wherever inheritance may exist. So generally, basically, that is what paternity fraud is. I will go into the laws a little later when we get to we put in when it pertains to how our father in the first place is seen as or deemed legal right as a paternal parent. Introduce, he just had let me not call it a dream, but he's always had a plan over the years being. I mean, from the very first time I know we met on an entirely different front. And I know he had from day one, he had always told me that he had the desire to perform a particular role and function when it came to paternity. So, I mean, I just want to introduce Mr. Clint Smith from Jiggles Entertainment. Today, I want to welcome you to the show. And I mean, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit of Jiggles Entertainment, a little history about what is your plan moving forward, a little thing about one of the projects or some of the projects you may have in mind? Whether it is basically the one that we know that you're working on when it comes to paternity or generally, just give us a little feel of Mr. Clint Smith and Jiggles Entertainment and kind of why you're doing what you want, you're seeking out to do what you want, what you're doing right now.
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Fields, and thanks very much, Mr. McIntyre, for allowing me a platform. All right. So once again, yes, I am Clint Smith, but no one calls me Clint. It's either Smithy or Jiggles, and I am from Jiggles Entertainment. What Jiggles Entertainment is just basically a business that is dedicated to entertainment. It is a variety of entertainment, and we believe in love. That's the type of entertainment that we are doing right now. We're into love, and we believe that if we can express, showcase, and invite persons into this love movement, not a reggae thing or anything like that, but a movement of love, everybody dealing with love. We think we could change Trinidad and Tobago from the violent nature, from the violent vibes, to a more loving one where we were back in the day with Banyan Yard and oh gosh, all these different shows. I can't remember the names right now.
Right.
So that's what we are about. However, one of the projects that we're doing right now is very much close to what the Single Fathers Association. Are we still saying Single Fathers or just Fathers Association?
Fathers Association is fine now.
All right.
That's what we branded now.
Right. So the Fathers Association, we're very close to them in what we are trying to accomplish and trying to do. What we're trying to do is to be the first the first set of people that actually taking a little bite from Maury and those type of shows in the States, but to have a show dedicated to fathers, dedicated to men having a space to not only talk, to not only be able to navigate through their feelings with all due respect, without a woman saying, but what if, but how this, but that. Without that, we're trying to get a space that men could talk about their feelings as well as be able to get a paternity test done almost free of charge. I say almost free of charge because it's a taboo type of thing. And we want persons who are genuinely interested. So we ask that you put down a small fee, as small as $500. And if you can't make that, we could work with you because we're working with a certain reputable pathology environment.
Yeah,
correct. That is willing to work with us. So if you can't do that, we could work with you. Jiggles Entertainment would be sponsoring, or we would have other sponsors coming in to pay for it so that you could get your paternity done and a peace of mind. Also, there's another part of paternity testing. And
before you come off of that point, Smithy, I just want to, I know one of the things you mentioned to me, part of the reason is more, not even that you're looking to generate the income but it's more to get a level of commitment when it
Correct.
comes to the fee you all are receiving? Because I
Correct.
could tell you personally, I've worked on a number of cases like these, and sometimes I get to the point where the person is about has committed to come to do it, and then for some reason they back out at the 99th hour after you all would have put forward the production, get the pathologist, line things up, and at the 99th hour the person decides, hey, I prefer not to know. So it's more a commitment phase here, right?
Correct. It's really about that, because at the end of the day, you and I both know the fees that is associated with going and getting a paternity test. And there's actually 2 paternity tests that can be done. Forgive me if I don't have the correct terminology, but one is supposed to be a feel good, and then the other one is a legal.
Correct.
And we are trying to provide a legal, which is more expensive. So
which could be used in the court.
That's correct. So even in that regard, when persons go to court and they want to get that done, most times they don't have the funds to get it done. So we could be engaged in that regard as well, not from the courts, but we could be engaged from that as well to get persons on the road to finding out the paternity. As well as there is another aspect of it where we will be bringing in therapists. Forgive me if I don't know the correct term, if it's psychologist or the other one.
Therapist is fine. I yet to guide you. Leave that part to me. Oh, therapist is fine. Yeah.
So we are also engaging therapists to come on board to assist, not only when it is just you get the information, whether you are the father or not. We are engaging therapists on a holistic level for men to be able to feel free to express, to find out what is their deepest issues, even post the show, even after the show. We want those men to be able to have a place that they could still express themselves. And if you think about it, plenty of these men that are associated with domestic issues and are found to be wanting, for lack of a better word, if they had somebody to talk to reason out their feelings, this wouldn't be, those things wouldn't be happening, because there's nothing in place to assist men to find out what they feel about a situation. It's always expected that the man is, I don't know what to call it, some sort of heroic person, but no one ever treats them so. No one ever treats them like that. As well as
the man is Hulk.
Correct. As well as we're trying to also get legal advice, family legal advice for persons who come to our show. So even if you want to come without having going to the courts or whatever the case is, and you want to come to our show to get the paternity done on whatever the case is, you also have some level of legal, let me not say representation, but legal advice coming to you if you decide to take heed of
that you want to go to the court.
Correct. So you have some level of advice. So let me as well say this. Let me just put this out there. Jiggles Entertainment is not the only one. We are on a platform called HODP, Hot Off the Press. It's a platform that is dealing just like 102 online. And this network is generating a lot of buzz right now. So the reason I'm putting it out there is so that persons, if you want to find out some of the content that would be there and you want to get more comfortable before you come to Jiggles Entertainment, we are on HODP, Hot Off the Press. You can go and Google it, search it, YouTube it. You could look at the content to see it's not no bacchanal thing that we're trying to accomplish here. It's serious business that we're trying to accomplish. And HODP doesn't deal with no bacchanal strippiness. So I want you all to be comfortable when you come to us.
And you're reaching out.
Correct.
So let me ask you, Smithy. Other than the entertainment aspect of it, as I said, I understand. But this particular one, I could see something that you invested a great deal of thought. I mean, your guys have thought out even the emotional aspects, the psychosocial aspects of it, where you're gonna have this show, you're gonna come on to the show, and even after or post show, you guys are willing to have post show follow up, so to speak. So you have the therapist, you have the legal consultancy. If you want to go to court for an order made, if something has happened, if you want to go to have a variation of an order made, because you very well may do a paternity test for a gentleman who is currently paying maintenance, or a gentleman who may be currently before the court with a warrant for his arrest, and the child isn't his.
Right.
Tell me, what was the catalyst, boy? What was the drive? Are you a father as well? Or is it just that you're seeing things and you're thinking, nah, this is a level of injustice, and if I what drove you to say, boy, I want to do this when it comes to opportunity?
When I tell you, you should be a host on your own show. It's amazing.
Yeah, oh Lord, what are you gonna do?
So I am a father of one. I had look up this guy for that one. I'm a father of one, of a 17-year-old beautiful young lady, who's already won and started exams, done a CXC and all those kind of things. Kudos to my baby girl. But it was a very difficult road for me. Since you started this organization, I have been following you since you started. I even reached out a couple of times, but I'm sure you don't even remember the conversations. But it was a very difficult road. And even though I was already minding my child, I still had to go to a court. And I'll tell Trinidad to make my business. The mother of my daughter sat down right in front of me and lied to the court and told the court that I was not buying school books and whatnot. And that same year, I could tell her she don't even know where Sharon's is in Trinidad and Tobago, but yet still telling me I wasn't buying school books, and told the court I wasn't doing it. But she told me a couple of weeks prior to the court date, I already bought books. I thought, because you didn't talk to me, I thought you wasn't buying it. And I don't even have to, the school let's send the book list. That's how good me and the school was. They send the book list to me.
Right.
Meetings. And when she told me that, I almost broke down to tears, because she said, "No,
I
wasn't taking care of my child," and after that, it brought a bad taste in my mouth. It made me feel inferior, down to the mediator. And I will say this, I won't call her name, sir, but down to the mediator told me I was paying for a car that time. He said, well, if you can't make more than what you're doing right now, sir, and I see you have a car payment here, well, give back the car. This is what the mediator told me in court.
Telling you. Wow.
Told me give back the car so that I'll have enough funds to put towards my child.
Whatever was being suggested.
That's correct. And again, it hurt me to the core. And I thought about it, and I was like, what if we had a space where men could talk about their feelings, could talk about their experiences, and not have anybody try to make them feel lower? This is just us. Women can talk, women could make the comments, but this is just about us and how we could be better as males. How we could be better, not just fathers, how we could be better as males. Because at the end of the day, when we go out there, a woman represents us, but when we go out there, we are expected to have all these things, these different stuffs on our shoulders, and we're supposed to come back home with a smile on our face. And that is not easy to do. If a woman comes back home without a smile on her face, she has either her children to prep her up. Most times a father, especially when he's not in the home, has nobody, not even a child to be able to look upon and smile. And I felt I was just like that, going home nobody to be around, looking for a certain type of love, and I couldn't get it because me and my daughter's mom estranged. My daughter is predominantly by her, and I'm feeling as if I'm slighted, and I don't know how to interact with my own child because if I say something, you're going to go right back to your mother and say, "Daddy say X, Y, Z is the case," and that going to put me in hot water. You know what I mean? So in a way, these proceedings tend to put not only the mother against, even more so the father, but down to the children. You're making them feel correct. You're making them feel as if there's a wedge between father and child. You know what I mean?
Smithy, you there?
That. Yes, I'm here.
And I guess we lost Smithy for a bit. I'm certain he'll be back.
Smithy is with us all the time.
So, once again, folks, we have Mr. Clint Smith from Jiggles Entertainment, and I know for a length of time, Mr. Smith has been pioneering, gathering his sponsors.
Your audio is breaking up a lot, Ronell.
Also, Mr.
Yeah, your audio is
has a long list. I would leave him to this.
Not here, yeah, Mr. Field.
Yes.
That when I'm certain you guys would have seen your most favorite. Oh,
your audio is very fluctuating. Yes, Ronell, your audio is fluctuating a lot.
Yes, not on my side.
Okay, seems like he's all frozen up. So, Smithy, continue with what you were saying.
Okay, so yeah, as a father, it's very difficult to know what you're saying to be accurate. I don't want to say true because there's always three sides to our story, you know, Mr. McIntyre. So it's hard to be a father and say, hey, what I'm saying is accurate, and this is how I am feeling, or this is what has been going on with me, and then have the courts, mediators, whatever the case may be, tell you that you're not doing enough. How can we as men be able to put out something that would allow us some sort of, I don't want to use the word freeness, but allow us to have a catalyst of sort to. Hey, so Mr. feels like he's back.
Yes.
Yeah, I was basically continuing the conversation of finding some sort of method of getting men to be able to work with the courts and not sound as if they're freeloaders. Correct. You know what I mean? It's very difficult, and I have a good job. You know what I mean? So to go into a court.
Talking about that, Smithy. Talking about your job. Well, I thought it was you that got cut off. I didn't realize it was me. So I was real ad-libbing and talking at the outside there. Only to realize I was the one that got cut off. So, as I was saying, I said many people, I know you're part of this whole thing, and I don't know if you have disclosed already or if you want to. I know you're known for a number of popular shows on the television network. I don't know if you want to share your experience when it comes to covering footage and some of the places, how long you've been doing it and where you've worked doing it as well.
I would prefer not. I would prefer not.
You
I
can't?
I keep that very close to my heart when it comes to what I do. But,
all right. Well, before you go forward, let me just say you have seen a lot of the things he's put out there. I say that so that people will have confidence that they know it will be a well produced show. It will most definitely be a very respectable show as well. So that's why I wanted you to get them, but I could understand why due to the sensitivity of the
Yes.
and the nature of the show as well. So no
Yes.
problem.
Yeah. I don't really like to put that out like that. Not only
In that way.
not only because of a safety issue, but also because I want people to understand that this is not about that show. This is
That
about
okay.
this is about men really trying to be better. And if you want plain to bad manners, if you want crime to slow down, I don't know if it could stop because some people have said that we've lost a generation. But if you want crime to slow down, you have to get to the men. You also have to
Correct.
get not just that, you have to get to the men's support system, which is women. And if you look at it, plain talk, I'm not here to sugarcoat it. If you look at our women with all the big gold chain, powder on the neck, big gold bundles on the hand and whatnot, they are supporting the men. If a woman was to open her mouth and say to a man, I want you to stop that. I love you, and we could work with what we have until we get better. Men wouldn't be doing what they're doing outside there. Our
So you
women
think that you think our women have an influential part in the life of our men as well?
plenty.
Correct.
If our women don't stand up and start to give our men not only kudos, good examples, telling them, oh gosh, what is the word when you tell somebody how good they are doing? I can't remember the term, but if you tell a man,
Commendation.
correct, if you tell a man those types of things, it creates something inside of him that is going to last.
Uplifting.
It is going to last.
Correct.
We uplift our
Correct.
own men.
You see that, and the first woman I think that's empowered to do that is mothers. So I mean, it's a good thing that you're even mentioning that on the heels of Mother's Day as well. You understand,
Correct.
mothers put in that level of confidence and that level of showing appreciation for manhood or for boyhood or for malehood generally. You understand? It's very critical and important, particularly where you would see you're raising a young boy, knowing how to speak to him, knowing how to as you say, commend him. Even when you're disciplining him, knowing what to say when you're disciplining him. You don't want to say, if you've never seen his father, you don't want to say, you're just like your father. You understand? Or even if you've created the facade to him that his father is terrible, you don't want to then say you are as terrible as your father. So
Correct.
very critical point. What I'd like to ask Mr. Smith, if we go back to the show, have you all conceptualized already what the process would be like? Meaning, what would a person who says, hey, I want to get my paternity tested for whatever reason, as I said, whether if it's a feel-good reason, which clearly is just, I need to know and I want to be certain that these are my children or this is my child. Because, you know, from the back of my mind, 10 years, 12 years ago, I just always thought something had happened, or I find the child who look like me, or my mother tell me XYZ, or I had a brethren who tell me something, or whether it is a full legal position where the person needs to find out because there's an issue looming from the court where it comes to maintenance or where it comes to financial provisions or anything like this. What is the process? What are they, and they come forward? What are they going to have to face when they reach in the scenario? So, meaning, what is the filming? What they'll be doing? If you could explain that process so people will have a clear understanding, what you all at least conceptualize to do, so they'll have an idea what is expected of them.
So one of the good things about me being here is that because, with all due respect, the idea is mine.
Right.
It's fluid. It's very fluid. So if the person really, though you're signing an non-disclosure agreement, so that we are protected, because obviously this is on the internet, we have to protect ourselves. So you have to sign a document. even though if you are not feeling comfortable showing your face, again, yes, you have to sign a document so we are protected. But if you're not feeling comfortable, we could work around it.
Right.
We can do it from the back of your head. We could find different ways of making it happen, cutting off your head when we're shooting. Just making you feel a lot more comfortable so that you could go ahead with the process. We could still get our footage as well as you getting your answers. So the process is, first and foremost, is that we need to find out whether or not you signed the birth certificate. If you sign the birth certificate, it gives us, as well as you, the availability of bringing the child to get a swab. So we are using swab. It is not blood. We're using swab.
Okay.
All right. It shouldn't take very long to get that done. It's not painful in any way or anything like that. We will be filming right in front of the establishment and the part of you getting the swab. We will also ask you to talk and tell us what's going on in a very short 20-second piece of you telling us what's going on, because we need you to tell us in your own words what's going on so that we could have something to talk about when we're on set, and you being able to have that, again, place, that feel-good place to talk, to explain on what you would have already told us. Afterwards, after we've already done the testing, the end of the show, the results would come to Jiggles Entertainment as well as the HODP network. You have to sign for that as well. Basically saying that you give us the right to receive the results on your behalf. Again, this is, if you think about it, a way in which we can control the scenario and the narrative, because we don't want you to get a result that is not in your favor and then you go and something happens. We don't want that. So we want to be able to have, when we're doing the results, to have our therapist and our legal advisor on standby. Even if we have to just call them on set and have you talk to them, we want to have them on standby so that you would have somebody to talk to in whichever way that you want. But we'll have that person there on standby so that it buffers, be it good or bad, it buffers the shock of it.
The reaction.
Correct. Because you could hear that the child is yours and now you're like, oh my God, the child is really mine. Really need to step up. And having that therapist there to give you some sort of idea of directions that you can go into, I think my personal view is that it benefits that man right there and then to know that somebody is there supporting him, saying that he can do this. Hearing it from me and on a person on the show may not boost him, but a therapist who's trained in it, who understands the psychometric of persons' personalities and whatnot, I think it would help a man to get over any type of shock.
Let me jump in there, Smithy, again. I'll just keep jumping in when I see relevant points. So expect that, right? So I think I need to explain, and I think that's one of the things I said I was going to explain later in the show. It's good that you brought it up. One of the reasons I would expect that the pathologist or the lab may want to know that, all right, that your name is on the birth paper in this scenario, is because that is one of the way that you presume paternity legally. You presume your paternal right in two ways. One, if you and the party are married, and two, so automatically, once a child is born in wedlock, you are deemed the paternal parent. So I've seen issues that we've intervened in where there was infidelity. One case comes directly to my mind, and we actually were representing the father who was the so-called honor man, because there was infidelity. The husband was aware of it at the point in time, but the father could not get to see the child because the child was born in wedlock, and legally, automatically, the married husband was deemed the paternal parent, even though biologically he was not after it was tested. So to go back to my point, there's two ways to presume fatherhood or paternity. Is once the parties are married, every child born within that marriage, you're automatically the father. Secondly, it's the signing of the birth paper, whether married or unmarried. Once you are at the registration of the birth and you sign the paper as father, no, you are deemed and have automatically assumed upon yourself all the paternal rights of the child. Right? The third way is the way in which, and this is not a presumption, this one is obviously a verification, which is paternity testing. So in many an instance, you would see when parties get to court, sometimes some men who've put their names on birth papers and then decided to do a paternity test, or then had doubts about the child already being theirs, they would have sought paternity testing to get validation that they were not the biological fathers, to have their names removed. Then we've seen it in the vice versa scenario, as I just suggested before, where children would have been born through infidelity, which is most of the time what causes this whole paternity issue in the first place, either infidelity or sometimes promiscuity. And you would have to, the biological father would then challenge it, bring a matter up before the court and say, hey, this is my child, I want the child, my name inserted on the birth paper. Then they have that biological test done, not the feel-good test, the test that is for prepared for the legal, for the court itself. And then once paternity is proven, they then assume their parental right, so to speak. So that's why it is understandable that at least from a jump start position, that they would expect, at least if you're not a married couple, that your name is written on the birth paper, that you were present for the registration of the birth at the birth of the child, so that you have assumed your parental right or paternal right, or assumed, as I said, assumed and presumed, because you're never certain until that happens, until you have the paternity testing. And I want to endorse the show and what the show can do for society. And as I said, people may think it is primarily a bacchanal thing, or it's a Jerry Springer thing somebody may be looking to bring up. But people fail to realize the value societally of knowing paternity. And I made some points before when it came to first the emotional impact, because you're now telling a man and a child to develop a close, emotional, intimate bond that is unbreakable. I have seen fathers who were told they were the fathers of children, and I am telling you, they were angry at first. I know that is not my child. I know she didn't want me. I know. I just wanted to find out. And when I find out, it's so as to enter into the ordeal as if they didn't want to be the father. And when they heard what they thought was true, the pain, and that is why I commend you guys for thinking this through about having the therapist on hand. I mean, I will always extend my services as well, and our team services to you guys as well, because we've dealt with these things as well. So having those persons on hand to be able to deal with our emotional connection. And I will tell you, people think bringing the truth out most times, Smithy, is a bad thing. It's an awesome thing. Even those fathers and those children who, after finding out that they may not have been biologically connected, continued where it was allowed by the parent, the other parent, the mother, who would now be the sole custodial parent. In the instances where they allowed it, that man and that child continued to have an inseparable bond.
Correct.
That man continued to be the mentor, continued. No, I from the men we have dealt with, even after hearing, those who have been allowed because some of them, after finding out the truth, the mother don't want them to see the child again.
Correct.
I have seen that they've continued to develop that relationship with the child. That is my child. I don't care what nobody say. The child said, that is my father. I don't need to know anything else. But however, knowing to them was critical and important. That's the emotional part. The other aspect, as I spoke about, is genealogy. It's important. I remember a matter we saw, not a local one that I had seen internationally. Because there's a paternity court internationally. It's well shown all over the television network, so we know about it. And one of those issues is that a young lady who was an adult now was in search for her biological father. And there was a reasoning for that. It was because of a medical condition that she had.
Okay.
And trying to find, it was a rare medical condition, and they were trying to find her next of kin for some reason, for whatever testing that they needed. And the man that she was told was her biological father, when they did it, was not her biological father. So she had to go on a quest now, telling her mother who was a big old woman in her 70s now, had to be trying to find these men who she slept with 30 years ago, in a bid to be able for them to find the original father to help save the woman's life.
I don't mean to laugh. It's just what you're saying.
That is how serious it is when it comes to the genealogy part of it. And then I spoke about a third component, why paternity is important and what you're doing is going to be so beneficial as well. Because thirdly, when it comes to inheritance, it is blatantly unfair for you to knowingly possibly have had some level of infidelity while you and somebody was in a relationship. The person has, even if it's a whole B13 card the man have, for him to leave with his whole goodness of his heart something to this particular individual with the belief or the knowledge that that is his biological child, when the mother knows there may be a possibility that there's not that he isn't, and she alone knows, actually, not even the child. It is totally unfair to anybody who's worked their entire life, saved up all the coins, slaved, dealt and done whatever they needed to do to provide, and left their inheritance, even inheritance they may have inherited, thinking to some child thinking to the child which they believe to have been from their loins, and then the child is proven not to be theirs. It is unfair to do so. I can understand if the man was made aware that here what, this may not be a biological child, and then he decides he's willing to do so. But it is unfair and unethical, I believe, for that person to carry that down because somebody is afraid to confess to the infidelity or to the lie they may have told no matter how many years ago. So I hope people see the value of such a show like what you guys are going to be bringing to Trinidad and Tobago. I hope that men find the confidence to be able to participate in such a show. And there's a culture that we've created where, and it goes to do with a lot of what you've been saying, Smithy, where men don't feel that they should be allowed to speak. Correct. Where men don't feel they should be allowed to question. So many times a man may have doubts and justifiable doubts of the paternity of a child, and they will even go to court because the court you could go to court and the court will say, why you didn't say you have an affair? But many men, after speaking to them, I couldn't tell you often say, you know what it is, I go and ask for a paternity test, even though I feeling that I may not be the father. The child come back to be my child. When I reach back in court, the perception of what the magistrate will do to them, the perception of how they think society will view them, as if they didn't want to be the child's father, when they never said that, They were just saying that they were uncertain if this was their child, and anybody could have that uncertainty particularly in some instances when you have already proven that there was infidelity by the other party, the woman, or two, where you just see the child and the child for some reason just looks nothing like you or nobody that looks like you, and it is honest, it is a normal human reaction, I believe, for you to be able to question something. And I think that when you have a question, even your party, your partner, once you have bring it across in a I would say an encouraging manner, should be willing to have that question answered.
You know, it's so weird that you would say that, especially the last part. This is away from the topic a little bit. And this is something I found recently. Again, I'm going away from the topic. You know, men are not even allowed to vent frustration. Like, for example, you're saying, gesticulating like that. Do you know men are not even allowed to talk like that now? Because as soon as you talk like that, Mr. Fields, are there still? Like you going again, Mr. McIntyre?
It seems as though he's frozen up again. But I'm sure he's going to hear you. So go ahead.
Okay.
Let's get him back in. Yes, he's go ahead.
Yeah, just that simple gesticulating, Mr. McIntyre. Do you know now women are viewing that as if you're being violent? So these simple things that we've grown accustomed to, let me not say simple because it's not simple at all. But the things that we've grown accustomed to when you see a man getting a little aggressive, the holding, the touching, the grabbing, the pulling, all these things are telltale signs that this man is getting a little too aggressive, or he might do something wrong, or whatever the case is. Do you know gesticulating? I didn't even know that. That women now are getting frightened. So that's something to get frightened of. I just thought I would bring that up to show, especially what Mr. Fields was saying at the end, to show how difficult it is that men are being pushed literally in a corner and expected to react as if they are a tame cat. If you push a cat, as small as a cat is, a cat now born 2 weeks into a corner, that cat is going to go into a flight or fight mode.
Yeah.
When you push a man into a corner, what kind of reaction do you think that he's going to give you, boy? And again, it speaks to some level, some aspects of the violence that men are portraying right now. Again, I'm not saying that right, I'm not saying that right at all. But some level, some aspects, some smaller percentage of men could be trying to talk about what we can do to prevent it and probably eliminate it, is men having that vibes to be able to say what they have to say in a safe space without being judged on how they're saying it. I think that's probably the best way I could put it across.
Yeah, I understand that.
Just being able to say, this child is not mine, this child is mine, whatever the case is, as Mr. Fields said, is imperative to a man's mental capacity to function, just to function. You don't know how many times, and remember I said, I started off saying I have a pretty good job. Do you know how many times I have laid in my bed, sat on my couch, lay in my couch, and just started crying because I am not where I want to be? How many times I've laid in my bed and cried because I miss my daughter, I miss my child. I hope she sees this. It is not a nice feeling. Granted, you could probably come and see a child at any point in time, but that's not the same as having your child there. That's not the same as being able to comfort your child when they wake up and it's very dark and they wake up forgetting that their parents in the next room or whatever the case is. It's not the same. And many people don't see, they look at men being able to go out as, and don't have the burden of a child as something to be glorified. There are men outside there that want to be able to see their child still probably go out and be able to kiss their child when they come back.
Exactly.
We don't get that opportunity. Just because we're able to go out, it's deemed as we love it. I don't even go out. My child not even in the country, and I don't even go out. Why is that? Because there's nothing outside there that I want anymore. Of course, because I do events, I have to go after be seen, and I let people see Jiggles Entertainment and those type of things. But I don't want to be outside there. I wish I could just settle down and have the picket fence and all that good stuff and you laugh.
I wish understand fully what you're saying.
Yeah, I wish I could do
tell
that.
me something. Tell me something. I've been listening to the processes or the procedures for for men who want to find out or get this paternity result. All right. So let's say that I heard you mention whether the person had signed the birth paper or not. So let's say the father's name is not on the birth paper. And let's say that that father still have been the father figure for that child. So it's difficult to say, well, get some kind of redress, if that's the right word, when it comes to that, because I know people who they said that this is the father of the child. The father said, well, that is not my child, but I don't mind being the father figure.
Right.
But if it comes to a case where, like Ronell was saying, where inheritance will come into play now, and you have to pass on something to someone, and there might be a tussle because who are biological will have a problem with who is not biological, if you understand what I'm saying. So tell me something. If a father does not sign a birth paper or a baptismal certificate, as they call it, and all of that, what kind of position is he in when it comes to proving that he's not the father?
So that's an excellent question, by the way. So some of the other things that you're supposed to bring 2 pictures of the child, because children's features change, especially as they're just born or they're not growing up or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
If you're not the father on paper, you have to bring the mother or get the mother to sign a document saying that she's allowing this process to go on.
Yeah.
But we would feel better if the mother brings the birth paper of the child, brings her identification, 2 forms of identification for both parties, and she comes to the process as well, the actual swabbing of the mouth and whatnot, so that it eliminates us having to try to prove that you are the father, whatever the case is. That's why we try, if you are the father and you've signed the document, the birth paper, to bring it. Those are other parts to your question.
Let me just pause.
Go ahead, Ronell.
Go ahead, Mr. Fields.
Smithy,
Yeah, you're kind of breaking.
Yeah, I should be good from here now.
All right, good.
I'm breaking up, Sam?
No, go ahead.
A little on my side, but okay.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to slip in something there as well, Smithy and Mark, that you all could consider. So I like the suggestion that if the father is not on the birth paper, he could bring the pictures. He could also see if he get a consent, not form, but get consent from the mother, some signed letter of some sorts or something, or the mother could accompany them if she wants to so assist as well, or if she herself wants an opportunity as well, right? But also what you can take into consideration, because you may also have a number of fathers who may not have signed the birth paper, but who have court orders. Reason being, a mother, for some strange reason, even without the father's name being written on the birth paper, she could bring him up for maintenance. When he gets to court, if the judge asks him, without any paternity test, if he is the father of the child, and he says yes, then, in other words, they will have him at least in the interim pay a maintenance based on him consenting that he is the father. Even though he is not in a position to tell you if he's the biological father, but
Correct.
he agrees with what the mother says. So in instances like that, you may very well also have persons who may not have signed the birth paper. You may also have persons who may not get the consent from the mother because they may know that there may be a chance he's not the father, but he is
Mhm.
paying maintenance, right? And sometimes even when paying maintenance, even though his name is not on the birth paper, he may still, because he's consented and the mother has agreed, so to speak, by bringing him up before the court for maintenance that he is the father, he may even have access to the child. And during his access period, if he has a court order, even though his name is not on the birth paper, you guys should consider him as well, because it would have to mean that both he and the mother consented in a court that he is the biological father of the child, even though neither may have had evidence to prove so.
So let me jump in real quick because I want to ask a question so that I would know. So what you're saying is,
Right.
going back to what you initially told me about, is it that if
Right.
the gentleman is paying maintenance, he
Right.
hasn't signed the birth paper, but he's paying maintenance, or he wasn't around to sign the birth
Right.
paper, whatever it may be, and he's paying maintenance, and he's found to not be the father. Is it your position that, or let me rephrase, is it that Fathers Association is saying that he should be allowed to get some sort of redress financially for the monies that he would have spent? Is it legally speaking, him saying that at that time I thought I was, um, so I'm supposed to get it back? Help me to understand how does that work if he didn't sign the birth paper, but he
Right.
acted like if he. Mhm.
Right. Now remember, he may not have signed the birth paper. There's a great number of men who are told that they are fathers of the children and believe so because they were in an intimate relationship with the mother. They
Right,
may be very well of the belief also that she was not unfaithful or she did not have any other sexual partners.
right,
They may not have been there at the signing of the birth paper, and once you are not there at the signing of the birth paper, most definitely your name will never be inserted on the birth paper.
right,
So, however, the court, however, has, in other words, I don't even want to say encouraged, but the court, however, has allowed mothers to bring, that is something we've highlighted before, a mother to bring somebody that she believes is the father of the child before the court for child maintenance, without him having signed the birth paper and without her having produced a paternity test that he is the biological parent, right?
mm,
If the father is asked, he would have to be asked because the court will have to go without him challenging the paternal status. So the magistrate or master would ask him, or judge, are you the father of this child or these
right,
children? And it's
right,
there and up to him now to say, by yes, I is the father, or no, I'm not sure, or no, I don't believe so, or say, well, I think so. Well, yeah, that was my woman, that was my we was woman and a man and woman, and yeah, them is my children. When he now agrees that he is the father, even though I am saying that he still doesn't have the real information to agree, but he is agreeing because he know that he was told these were his children. He possibly played the role of father before the separation.
right,
He now is made to pay a maintenance, and then it is recorded that he said that he is the father of the child. He made no objection. You understand?
okay, right,
So, to go further to answer your question now, beyond that, is that even though he may have at that point honestly believed that he was the father, because I mean, you was in a relationship with the mother of the child, you was in love, you possibly in your mind said, nah, she's not a woman or whatever, um, be promiscuous. So
mm-hmm.
you had all belief in your heart that they are really your children. If you were to do a paternity test and realize that you were deceived and it was untrue, then of course you can't take it up to the family court, but there's the civil court. If you would have made contributions financially, there's a civil court that I'm pretty sure that you can access or test the civil court to see if there can be some application of damages or some refund of the money you would have disbursed, or if you want to say you suffered emotional damage or emotional trauma because what would have taken place, you will be able to test it in the court. I am pretty sure the civil court standard.
So what
What
happens?
I will tell you, we have done. Go ahead.
Yeah, what happens when there are some women who will say, who wants to know that? You know, and maybe say, let's do a paternity test so that I can know for sure whether I'm the father or not. And some women will say, we want to know that for, you know, who you want to please, you know, and I'm not gonna do that. What happens then?
Well, you see, that is where the man has to understand his ground and know his right. Because if you fail to do that at that point, you could get yourself in trouble. And I'm going to pitch to the point that I've highlighted before. And I don't know if you mind, you could play that video that I would have shared with you after I talk about this point. Because you may be brought before the court and you may be told the very same thing. And that is the same thing I was talking about, Mark. The fact that you are sometimes socially pressured, peer pressured into thinking that if I only ask that question, the court is going to look at me as though I don't want to be the father. If I ask that question, the court is going to look, the society is going to say I'm a deadbeat father and I'm just looking for an excuse not to pay maintenance or not to be involved. All the time you never question the paternity. Why are you questioning it now? This is what drives fear into men to not pursue the truth. And I can tell you, I have seen in instances where they only reach the position of warrants coming out for their arrest that motivates them now to then say, hey, you know, I always felt that this was not my child and I'm going to do a paternity test. And many times, as in the video we're going to play now, of Mr. Nicholas Julian, a father we interviewed, that is what is proven. So if you'll play that video now, Mark, I think people in Trinidad will get a better context of what's taking place right here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, here we go.
Me and she came to a reason where I will give her the cash. She will go to the court. It was going smooth. Went for about, I was getting my receipt summer. Then eventually the receipt stopped. I never saw it. I said, girl, I get you my money once I had no problem. About a year, she moved on. I moved on. Meet up with this girl, have a next serious relationship. And a year into that relationship, I warrant come. Get locked up. What I get locked up for? Maintenance. Alright, call her. What this is about, she knows nothing about that. Went to court, she tell me, well, she take it out. She name XYZ. I said, I've been paid. Court said, I want to know that. This is why we come to the court. I was giving her the money. They giving her the money. So went through the system, had to pay it back. And within that, two family members and thing behind me. And the talk was that, you know, Ola's daughter is not mine. So end up, you know, talking to the officer. I say, well, that makes sense. You're going through all this and you're sure. You go and be sure. I went, I take out, do a private test and found out that my daughter was mine.
Same child that
Same
paid maintenance.
So was
Child
mine.
was arrested for as well.
Correct, is right. Find out that she was mine. Went to court. Well, the officer directed me out to go about to dismiss the warrant or whatever. Went to court. Took almost 6 months. And all they did was I shouldn't say they cancel it, but they just reduce it. But that warrant's still there. So now I facing with a warrant about 18,000 and finding out now this child is not mine. The joke was on me because she always know and she sent me messages because I said, yo, so what going on? There's something you always know. And showing me that she knows since my daughter was 3 years.
What a thing.
Wow.
What a thing.
What a
What?
I can speak to only one part because I'm not that accurate with the others. Warrants don't die. Warrants don't die. So whether or not you have a bench warrant, which is issued as the name suggests by the bench, or just a simple warrant of arrest from police.
Yeah, the court.
A police could take out a warrant as well. But warrants don't die, right? So it has to be executed. The warrant has to be executed in order for the process to start. And once it has been executed and the process starts, he could go before the court and explain himself. They may have to stand on the matter for him to be able to come and give proof. But once the warrant is executed, he could go. Just hopefully it's not executed on a Friday, because he'll stay inside until
Spend the weekend inside.
And that's
but the warrant has to be executed in order for it to go away. It will never die. I remember somebody had a warrant since 1992 for something, and the matter was resolved, but the warrant was never executed on the person. And you could go to a particular station or check a particular station for where the warrant is, because it works in districts and those type of things. Yeah. So,
Mark, let me ask you one thing before I delve into a little more. You have the article from Guardian that I sent you.
Yeah, I was trying to read it out.
You didn't get a chance. You think you could assist us? You think you could assist the court with reading it right now?
Let me put it up here again. Okay. A Labrador father faces the possibility of going to jail for failing to pay $35,000 in maintenance for a child for who he says is not biologically his. This is so unfair. I just don't know how to deal with this. I want the world to see what's happening to me, to find out the youth who I am taking care of, like my own son, is not mine, and now I have to make a jail, said the father, Marlon Thompson. The child is now 11 years old, and Thompson also has a daughter, a year and 8 months old, with another woman who he married December last. Worried and frustrated over the situation, Thompson was advised to seek the assistance of the Single Fathers Association, which is now trying to help him. He was ordered to pay maintenance of $150 a week by a Point Fountain magistrate in 2008, but he struck an agreement with the child's mother outside the court, and he believed the maintenance order was discontinued. He said, however, last September, 5 years later, and 3 months before his wedding, he gave himself up to the police after he heard a warrant was out for his arrest. I do not know that maintenance order was still in force. The court ordered him to pay the money in 2 tranches. Thompson said he filed for custody of the child. However, he's decided to take the child to the Victoria lab for a paternity test in March. I don't even know how to explain how I feel when the test showed he was not my son, he said as he produced the test results. Well, boy, men find themselves in such a situation sometimes, boy, because I know, I am telling you what I asked you a while ago, because I was told that. I was told this guy said, well, okay, I'm trying to move on. I need to know if this child is mine. This is a girl child. This child is mine. And the woman said, what do you want to know that for? I'm not going to take no paternity test. Who you want to be with wasn't the bed sheet. That kind of baccarat, kind of pipe, standpipe kind of thing. So I was saying, how could men win that situation feels if the woman does not want to be part of the paternity testing procedure?
It doesn't have to be. It's once the man and the child is involved, she doesn't have to be anywhere there. Because once it comes back, as I have seen it in the 2 cases you've read, at 0.00%, then we know for sure that is not the man's child. And what I want to show is a similarity in those two cases. Those two cases were cases we highlighted, both of them like 4 or 5 years away from the other one. Marlon Thompson, that's why I like it, the fact you brought up the point about the Warren Smithy. When Marlon Thompson's case, what we had to do is get a stay of the warrant. We had to go to the High Court, get a stay of the warrant. And he had to work with that stay of the warrant on his person for 2 years until the judge could have quashed that matter. His matter actually formed a precedent in Trinidad and Tobago that quashes a warrant if the child is not your biological child.
Oh, okay. I wasn't even aware of that.
Marlon Thompson, correct? Yeah, that is the first matter in Trinidad and Tobago. We sent him, we got an attorney of ours to represent him pro bono. She took it to the High Court and she was able to get it quashed. That is the precedent standing now, that anytime a child is not the biological child of the father and a warrant is in existence, the warrant can now be quashed. So that is what you said is so critical, because before that matter, and hadn't it gone to the High Court, just as Smithy was saying, that warrant would have continued to exist against the man, even though it was proven. We had the evidence that he was not the father of the child, yet we had to get a stay of the warrant because he could have been arrested still.
Yes. At any point in time, correct.
Wow.
So these are the things that we raise when it comes to paternity fraud and why paternity testing is so important. In 2018, we highlighted these cases with Nicholas Julian as well and showed that there were men that were being dragged before the court, men that maintenances were being allowed to accrue against them that were not the biological parents of the children. And they faced being imprisoned. And on that premise, we had the Joint Select Committee, I know Mark, you heard us read it out some weeks ago, recommend from the Parliament that they wanted the AG to draft in legislation that a man, that once a maintenance order is to be issued, it should be accompanied by a paternity test proving that the person who's going to pay this maintenance order is the biological father of the child.
Yes.
What I want to ask you, Mr. Fields, if you were to go through that process of squashing the warrant,
right,
because of the child not being the gentleman's, is it at that point, once it's squashed,
right,
the fees as well get squashed as well, or does the man still have to pay the fees that had accrued?
No, it's quashed immediately. What the magistrate was able to do, the fees as well. What the magistrate was able to do even before the warrant was quashed, all the magistrate had power to do was to remove the maintenance. So the maintenance had ended from the lower court level. However, you were right. The magistrate did not have the power to quash the warrant that already was in existence. There was no legislative work to do so. You understand? So that is why we had to try it before the court, to test the court, and then this common law practice came up when the High Court judge decided that it would have been injustice for him to have to be imprisoned for a child that biologically was never his, and he was led to believe was his. And if you realize a similarity in the two cases that we highlighted there, one in the newspaper and one via video, and while we recording, you all heard the audio, both men spoke about another issue when it came to maintenance. They made sideline agreements with the mothers and paid outside the court and allowed the maintenance to accrue on the inside of the court. And when both parties got into other relationships, these are two different men speaking who don't know each other. I am the one who know both of them. When they got into new relationships, they both had maintenance warrants taken out against them and were totally surprised by it. because they knew the arrangements they had with the mothers.
Anyway.
Yeah. There are some comments here quickly. Ian Budu, I wouldn't go. He has a long name. Most men are to be introverted. He said, guys, the plan is to pull the men from the homes today. You know, it went on to say that, let me see if I can pick up this one especially. Narcissism has no face, guys, and 75% of women are guilty of such. You understand? So sometimes, like, last week on the program, I was making the kind of vendettas women will have. They and somebody have been broken up for a while, and the person they probably have the deep feeling still, and the person gets into another relationship, and they too might be in a relationship. But when they hear about this new relationship, they say, hey,
problem.
I'm playing, so dig deeper, and the vendetta starts. They will start. You know what I mean? So I think we're in a position where we really have to batten our crease.
I mean, this is why the value of the paternity is there, the paternity test, so that you now have evidence to defend yourself. I remember in the Marlon Thompson's case that venomous behavior of the mother poured out onto me, When I went to the court with him, she attacked me, physically attacked me. And she said that I am carrying and I'm making him do the wrong test. He's supposed to do the test with blood. And I come, and the woman attacked me physically in the court. They had to get the court, police had to restrain her. So I can tell you all that and getting away from the part of the deceit of the mother, in the case particularly with Marlon, that young boy who was 11 then, he's an adult now today, because Marlon case possibly was like about 2010 or 2011, somewhere there, 2012, and he went to live with his father, even though it was proven not to be the biological father. He cut off his mother entirely and stayed solely with his father. And Marlon said, that is my son.
The non-biological father or the biological father?
The non-biological father. The boy had no interest to find the biological father. He was, however, clearly impacted by the mother's actions and cut off all dealings with her and went to live and stay with the father until he became an adult today.
Well, look at that.
So this is something, guys, and look at the length of time we've been advocating this for. So this is why I am grateful for this production you guys are really trying to bring, that you guys are going to bring to the fore. This is articles from as long as 2010. There was another one we dealt with a policeman, and none of the man's children was his. About 3 children. This man working guard and emergency branch. You know the kind of counseling he needed not to commit a murder after?
Yes.
3 children spaced in between themselves, possibly 2 to 3 years in between, and none of them was his.
My God.
I'm telling you, the psychological impact on a man who working guard and emergency branch 24/1, 24 off. Going to court to find out, to test, he assumed one may not be his and tested all and none was his. So
when you come down here, I had to talk to you.
No, so these are things that, and the reality is, there are many men out there right now who are uncertain that their children are theirs, happily married still too.
Yes.
And that.
Oh boy, we lost out on him again. There's another comment here from Penko, Mr. Penko, Jove Penko. Fatherhood needs to be tested today. Women cannot be trusted. Because, I just like you in the entertainment field, I used to be at the courts waiting for occasional bar license and all dancehall license and all that kind of thing, and you have to wait till some of the cases go along before they reach the entertainment licenses. Now, sometimes I I would be listening in court there and be baffled at the behavior or the behavioral patterns or the attitudes of the magistrates towards men when they came up with some profound case that they seem fit to iron out in the court. They go in there confident, and say, well, I will tell the magistrate this, and I will let the court know this. And when he stands up, the magistrate will put him in a situation where he's afraid to talk now.
Yeah, it's funny that you would say that,
Yeah, I've seen that.
We as men, I think we put ourselves in situations. Now, granted, we chose the woman or the woman chose us, whatever the case may be. More than likely, the woman probably chose us. But I think we put ourselves in situations that we can't get ourselves out of. One of which is lack of knowledge. One of which is we don't put ourselves in a position to learn. Book-wise or otherwise, we don't put ourselves in a position to learn. If you did, first and foremost, you'll make better decisions. And second of all, you'll be in a better position to argue a case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We as men need to put ourselves in better positions when we are placed in front of our court to talk for ourselves. So we need to learn, not just because, and again, I'm drifting away from my point, but this show also is geared towards those same black people, and you and I spoke about it, Mr. Fields.
Right.
Those same black young men seeing a black man doing something relatively youngish, doing something on a scale that would be deemed successful. Look at you, Mr. Fields. You talk like a man from the ground.
Yeah, on the ground.
You are a successful businessman. How come you not portrayed in a particular light so that other people, Lavanti and them kind of thing, go hear about you and see you and whatever the case is? I'm being blunt here.
Yeah.
Some woman who don't like you. It's a woman, I telling you on the internet who don't like you.
Yeah, I know that.
They don't like you at all. So when you go in front of a court, like what Mr. McIntyre was talking about, because he was in front of the court waiting for his license for parties and stuff, and hearing how women was getting on and whatever the cases, and men down to the magistrate talking to the men. If you're in front of a magistrate and you cannot talk for yourself because you lack knowledge or you lack being in an environment that allows you to be able to talk in a particular way so that people would listen to you. Nobody going to listen to you at all.
True.
I mean, I was there waiting for occasional license, bar license, and this kind of thing, and we'd have to wait. Fields will have to wait. And sometimes when these guys they come into the court, sometimes they're outside the court before the court starts, and hear them saying, I want to tell the magistrate this, but I'm not playing, and when you get there, the magistrate addresses you. All your Bibles fall out the basket.
Exactly.
You have no shit in your pants.
That's it.
The magistrate have sweating. They say, well, you get a chance to talk, and they're putting it to you.
Correct.
In some circumstances like that, I am glad there's this Fathers Association now that will accompany these fellas to court and things now, because that seems to be a big problem. Because men like to be this macho thing, like Smithy is saying, we put ourselves in a position where we don't know.
Correct.
But women, they always chatter and they talk about their rights and stuff, pal.
Correct. Always educating each other and themselves.
Correct.
You understand? So Wendell, how we get around? I mean, the Fathers Association have done and is still and will continue to do whatever is needed to empower men, to give men that kind of mental strength, I should say, to stand firm. Because somewhere along society, and even like in the courts, I have seen it in a partner, where the man will talk you down as you come. The woman might be wrong like hell, and the magistrate don't want to hear you. The magistrate
how you speak, when you speak, how you the manner in which you decide to speak. When it's a talk to somebody, again, Mr. Fields just talk like if you're from the ground. How is it that he's able to capture the not only essence but the attention of certain people because you have to know as a man, and this is where we as men falter. You have to know when to speak, how to speak, and what is speaking. If it should be constructed in a particular way that it will make sense.
That's right.
Correct.
If it's we don't know, again, we have to take some sort of responsibility because we're not passing that down to any of the youth men and whatnot. Let me be real. This thing that going around right now with the to ask me how this become a thing. People of different persuasions doing videos and ghettos.
Right.
You see a young man walking in front of the camera with a rifle?
Yeah, normal. Aye. Just today I seen that.
We putting ourselves in this as men. But let me, as I said, I mean, again, passionate about it. But let me go further. How many of them women see you walk outside there and know that you're going on the block and you know you're lying with certain people? How many of them? And they allow you to do that. I say allow because plenty of our women, remember our society is growing older. Plenty of our women are older. It's not plenty, with all the respect. I don't mean anything when I say it like this. It's more men that die, not women.
Well, of course it is. You don't have to apologize for that. Is it true?
I don't want to sound insensitive,
and
but
it's how they're dying too.
Correct.
So suicide seems to be taking a big chunk of it also.
Yeah. This week we had two male suicides again.
Yes,
we had one yesterday and one earlier this week.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's 4 suicides in the last 3 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean.
So I'm sorry. Gosh, our women need to do more. Yes, you're going out to work. Yes, you're coming back home. But you have something that we don't have as men, which is the availability of seeing, touching, holding that child that centers men. When you see a child there holding you by Mr. Fields, you can't tell me he doesn't feel a particular way.
Correct. And I see the thing is, I'm going to tell you something too, Smithy. I agree with you to a great extent the way you say. But I want to also encourage men to stand on their own too. Because sometimes what I have realized, they always need a woman to coax them to do something. Yeah. And that historically is because so many men are raised by women.
Correct.
So they don't know how to assert themselves unless they have a woman that has introduced them into the space of men. And that's what my mother did, My mother knew she didn't have the competence to make me into a man. Yes, she could put good moral, good spiritual, and good value inside of me. But for me to have the courage to speak, for me to have the courage to oppose, for me to have the courage to say, I don't agree with you, I needed positive masculine energy to do it. So she would have carried us in spaces, whether it be church, whether it be pathfinders, whether it male influence places that were positive. And you would hear, even if they hear the preacher man talk, and he talk with a certain authority in the church, you might have the sleeping part of the time, but you hear the authority he talk with. Men like Pastor Dutton was close friends with my mother.
Yes.
So you heard a certain kind of a language and a certain kind of confidence as a man. And then, along the way. So I believe women have a very instrumental part. Another woman that was very instrumental to me was my teacher as well. I had a form teacher who was very, very instrumental in encouraging me to be masculine. She was the woman I'd always say. I remember I was in homeroom a day, and I was a little troublemaker in school. And at the day I felt bad when she do it. She was talking to the boys, and she was saying, boys, and I never forgot that. She said, make sure the persons that you all marry are persons that love you all. She said, I know you all won't hear that plenty. She said, I don't want any of you to just marry a woman because they get she pregnant. And she said, she make me stand up in the class. She said, you see you? I'm talking to you, And I feel so ashamed in the class at first, And then you wouldn't believe, when I had my predicament, that is the first thing came to my mind. This person is having child with you but is this person that somebody that you can honestly say is in love with you? So that woman is like I will go in school, St. George's College all the time and look for her. That's like my mother. Because the advice that she gave at that point in time, and she pointing at me, it really landed in my garden. You understand? So I agree that women play an instrumental part, but men have to at some point learn to stand on their own 2 feet. And I'll tell you, many women will call us, and I make the woman make the man call. Mr. Fields, you see, my husband having real problems with the ex-wife. Let the man call me. I know why. Because it's he had to face the magistrate when he going in there, not you.
That's
so
right.
He had to have a certain level of empowerment and boldness in the paternal rights that he have. The magistrate not doing you a favor, you know.
No.
At the end of the day, this is my right to know if I am the paternal parent of this child. And if I am, then I have all right to have access and be a part of the child's life. So we've created a psyche and created, as I say, a social perception that if a man question, and a very sensible question, you know, something that he will never have proof of without paternity tests, that you should label him, you should then make him demonize him, make him look like he's a deadbeat father, when the truth of the matter, when the results come out, is that the man was no father at all. The man this policeman I tell you about thought he had 3 children. The man didn't have 1 child yet. And that is the harsh reality of it. This could drive men to things like suicide.
Yeah. And to even do very negative things.
But of course, I told you this is a GEB man that had a driver wrong with the brethren and take it on. Day in, day out, 24 hours on. He can walk in a home, God forbid, and do anything.
Yeah, because he's always well armed.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these things, there was a matter as well as we talking about it. And I'm not encouraging what the man did.
Yeah.
Mr. Lewis would have shared it with us in the group. And about 3 weeks to a month ago, a man was sentenced for attempted murder of a woman. From 2013, he was charged, he was out on bail. And I think he ended up getting like about 15 or 16 years imprisonment for the act. But what had happened is that he found out during the pregnancy that the woman possibly, there was infidelity with the woman at the point in time, or it seems they seem to have had a fit of anger. I don't want to suppose and say this is what happened, but it seemed that, I don't know if there was an quarrel or a spat, and she decided to blurt it out that the child in her stomach was not his. And the man set the woman on fire.
Lord Father.
So she is still alive, and would you believe, after the birth of the child, the paternity test was done, and the man was not the biological father of the child.
Wow.
And that was his wife. So whereas I am saying there's no justification for any act like that or taking that into your hands, the fact that there's no checks and stop and balances has caused this type of behavior to perpetuate in society. I guarantee you, if before women needed to come to court to get a maintenance order, they had to have the man do a paternity test, half of the maintenance orders in court will not be applied for.
So one of the comments is exactly that. Fatherhood needs to be tested today. Women cannot be trusted. You know? so you know, and I too believe that. Remember we had a program and I told you guys about how some men will react knowing that they're out there beating their chest and they're talking about my girl and my wife, and, and then something like that happens. Them fellas could snap.
Of course.
Face their peers. They know well all the time they're beating up the chest and they're saying, well, they're proud to be a father of this quality and a father who does this and a father who stands firm as a father. And
correct.
Then, these kind of different kind of situations happening. could send anybody berserk, and then some people have no control. They'll just
Correct.
lose it, like that guy who burnt up the woman.
Correct.
Difficult. It's very difficult.
Correct. I mean, I tell you, I've been following these matters, following paternity fraud internationally, and you would be surprised sometimes how many men some women had to bring forward. I've seen some of them bring as much as 15 and 20 men,
Wow.
and still can't find the paternal parent. So it makes you wonder, what were you doing with your time, boy?
I tell you, Karen Blackman is saying the parental program in the health center is anti-fathers, and goes on to say, imagine they told me in the clinic, no fathers allowed.
No, and that is something. That is very true. They always saying one parent. So, in an instant when the father wants to be there to support the mother, to comfort the mother, to be there with the mother. Same thing we had an issue with the hospital as well with. One parent, when your children sick or in the hospital, they want one parent to be there at that time. Sometimes when the child want both parents to be there.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's we have a lot. This journey called fatherhood is a lot deeper. And I mean, we've found so many things that need correcting in our society. And that's why I'm glad. And I wish and I hope and I want men, when you all launch this program, to come forward, be open face. They have no shame in that. No. If somebody at the end of the day, the child is proven not to be yours, at the end of the day, you have the information and the facts that you need. It is better to know than not to know. You know what it is for you to find out 20 years, talking about, and this one is a personal case of mine about personal nature. And it happened before I became single father as anything. It is because I knew the family so close that this gentleman raised this boy. The mother actually left the child with the boy. And it was a day the boy going to school, a man stop him and give him $20 and tell him, I am your father. When the boy was done about 13, 14, and I could tell you how this family loved that boy. I could see the boy in my face right now. Only, and the thing that's so crazy, the father and the mother had separated while the child lived with them for years. The father and the mother got back together years after and had another child. Only after to find out that the child that he thought was his first, the one was the apple of the eye who he raised himself, when the man stopped him and tell him that, to do the test and see that first child was not his. The second child that when they came back together was his. But that first child was never his child.
My God.
You could imagine the mental torment you're bringing upon a man and a child.
Yeah.
And that is why we need to have some stop measure so that this level of dishonesty is not allowed to destroy the lives of people. You can imagine a child 13, 14, 15 here, and this man is not daddy. Who's daddy then? Where do I find daddy? That's a child you're going to turn into a monster.
Yes.
So I think it is important. And if you know you have nothing to hide or you haven't been anything, you shouldn't care. You have no reason to be upset. You should support that. If the man have a doubt, or even if not, you encourage him as a woman. Say, hey, this is your child and I'm going to carry it to court for you to XYZ. Fine, let me do the maintenance because I know you are the father 100%.
And that's where our show comes in. A woman do it as well, you know. A woman can as well and say, I would like a paternity test of my child and this gentleman, you know.
Correct.
She could do it as well. There's no shame in it.
Of course.
Again, this is all about men having a safe space. So we have no problem if a woman comes to us and says that, Jiggles, I want you to get a paternity test from my child's father. Once he is okay with it, he comes to do it. Let's say
she can tell the story.
Correct. And he's not on the paper. Once she's there saying, I give consent for my child and whatnot, she signs the document, our document. That's fine.
And I don't mean to cut you. Another aspect where this could be very instrumental, and this is for children searching for their paternal parent. There are instances where fathers may have died, or fathers may have been killed, and you are an adult now, and you know that's what's supposed to be a father. You know you could go to the next of kin as well, if there's a brother, a next surviving relative, and you could do the paternity test with them and know, well, all right, this was my father, this is my grandfather then, this is my uncle then, this is my aunt then, so you all are my family. To have children who are orphaned and in search of their, so this is such and can be such a fantastic show once persons come forward and really reach out to you guys. I mean, even if you say that you all sometimes want to have a commitment fee of a 200 or 300 or whatever, so we know people not going to make all this, set up everything, pay for it, and then say, "Boy, I changed my mind." Correct. I think that is a steal of a deal for you to get this information that could definitely impact your life.
I tell you, and it can be very, very helpful to men who don't know where to turn.
Correct.
I think you should, Smithy, you should let people know before we end the program how to connect with you guys. How you Facebook or however your promotion or marketing.
So you could contact. Well, I'm going to put my number outside there. You could contact me, Smithy, from Jiggles Entertainment at 316-3696. I'll say it again, 316-3696. You can just, what's the word I want to use? You can WhatsApp me that information.
Yeah.
Tell me that you can tell me that you want to
have the test done.
Yeah, have the test done. Or you could contact, let me get the number for you.
Okay.
You could contact Mr. Robert Batiste at 333-2181. That's 333-2181. He is the front man for HODP. That's the network that Jiggles Entertainment is going to be on. Or you could contact himself on HODP on any platform, HODP, or Jiggles Entertainment on Instagram, Jiggles Entertainment on TikTok. You could contact me anywhere there and tell me that you're interested. Just say interested in the show, and we could start from there. It's very, very simple. Get the birth paper, 2 forms of identification, as well as 2 pictures of your child, especially if your child is very young, because the features may change. Those 2 pictures will be attached to the document. It will be sent in with your swabs. Should take about 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks to get back the information. During that, when you get to do the swab, we will be taking a video of you of the process of what you're going through. You will be talking to us on that day, giving us just a little tidbit, about 20 seconds, telling us what is going on and why you are doing this. Could be the woman, could be the man, whatever the case is. And as soon as we get the test, we will do the show. We call it the front and back. We'll do the front and back of the show, introducing who you are, cut into what we have already done, and just the ending part of you experiencing either the nostalgia or the disappointment of what
the results
have to say, and it may sound unfortunate, but this is reality, and we bring in reality real to you. We want to get people off of the streets and off of watching at only crime shows. Give us your time so that we could actually bring you a little something. And I know we press for time, but think about it, people. If young people saw successful people, black people, and I'm sorry I'm saying it, black people doing something that is different and successful and making a difference, we might actually start talking to the younger generation who may want to make a change, which will bring down the crime statistics. Not now, but it will start to go down. And we will actually start seeing a better Trinidad and Tobago. It may start with just a little one thing to do, but it might just be impactful.
I hear you.
Definitely. In closing, I must thank you once again, Smithy. I must commend you and your group, Jiggles Entertainment, on having the foresight and seeing the value for such a production. I mean, you guys will have our support definitely from Fathers Association. Any of the fathers reaching out to us for this service, we definitely will send them your way. We encourage mothers, we encourage fathers. If you are interested in this service, to reach out to them. As I said, we pinpointed the number of opportunity and values that this could actually provide a show of a nature such as this. And also, I mean, it's a safeguard for so much negative emotion. That is the part I think is so important to me, that it safeguards and stops the development of an unhealthy or I would say a lie that could eventually turn into be murderous, as we may have seen in other instances. I want to commend you guys. I want to once again commend Power 102 Digital for having us here every Friday, talking about the very difficult topics that we bring, that not everybody will be too happy to hear about. We commend you guys for the openness of mind, and I mean for allowing us to be able to ventilate these things. Once again, Trinidad and Tobago, this is Ronell Fields from the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. We ask you guys to share this video as you come off with anyone, any young male, older male, any woman, young woman, older woman, because I think paternity impacts all of us. We are all here because of paternity in some way, form, or fashion. And I think there are a lot of people out there who have doubts and really would like to have questions answered. Send them this video so they learn a lot about their paternal rights and what they can do to ascertain the paternity of their children. So, and once again, from the Fathers Association, we're wishing you guys a good week. We're wishing all the mummies and them a happy Mother's Day. Enjoy yourself. Have a peaceful Mother's Day. Oh God, bandits. Ease me up for the Mother's Day now, please.
Yes.
Ease me up for the Mother's Day now. Give me a rest.
Yeah.
Right? The Mother's Day pass. Go by your mother and eat something now.
Yeah.
Right? So, thanks again. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yes, thanks for another informative program. We had a lot of comments. Fareed, let me read the last one. Fareed Khan, respect and blessings every time combined and make it happen together every time.
Yes,
we're going to always take a good fight. We look forward to another session on next Friday.
All right. Take it easy, guys. All the best.
All right,
Yes.
sir.
That's it for today's edition of Hard Talk. We touched on the topic paternity fraud with our guest speaker, Clint Smith, or Smithy as he calls himself, from Jiggles Entertainment. We got news straight ahead.